Hello.
All right.
Man, I'm Bush gearless today.
I can see you're going with the 12th gear, it looks like.
I totally forgot. Fuck. So I totally forgot that we were.
Hey, there
There
he is.
he is.
All right, all right. Welcome to another Bush Banter episode, giving you the hottest takes. And I mean the hottest, because there's someone else on here with a podcast who probably thinks he has the hottest takes in the IBL, but it comes from us. Let that be known. All you millions worldwide watching, coast to coast, hope you're doing well. I'm, of course, G Hill up in the cut. My bro Elliot down there, are you here?
I'm here. Welcome, Noah. Good to see you.
Yes, guy. And now Ray, Natalie in the Hawaiian gear. Are you here?
Gentlemen, I'm bushless today. I am here. My giant beer. Let's go.
Yes, guy. And then finally, like I said, coming from a competing faction, but this guy's always been a supporter of the Bushmen, and we definitely appreciate it. We got a gentleman. He's been handling the play-by-play for your London majors since 2016. He also is the voice of the Strathroy Rockets of the Gojahil / the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League. This man coming out of Fanshawe College. He's also a big celebrity now. I don't know if everyone knows. They just cooked up, him and his co-partner there, Dylan, cooked up a TV deal with Rogers. So you can see his IBL reporter quarantine corner there. Noah Smith, are you here?
Yes, sir. Quite the resume there, but don't hype me up too much.
well, we'll do some chirping later on the show. But before diving into the IBL and kind of how you came up and everything, you're likely, are you living in the London area?
I'm actually from a small town just north of London, yeah.
Okay, so Middlesex County?
Yes, sir.
Middlesex
Right
County.
Middlesex Center.
This might not
Where does he get his information?
I'm a little bit worried right now, I'm going to be honest.
This might not be too topical because we do film these like a week and a half in advance. But, as I did read today, phase 2 for Toronto, restaurants potentially opening on Wednesday. So Middlesex has been open for over a week now. I want to know, have you been to the patio and how many pints have you consumed? The over-under is 14 and a half.
Yeah, actually, I went to my first patio yesterday. I went up to MJ's Roadhouse in Lucan. Great little place there, great patio. And you're probably on the under on the pints there, but not too far off.
Wow. We're all jealous. We're jealous here, trust me. But I'm glad you did get out. So I guess we'll kind of start off with kind of how you got involved with London. I see here you went to Fanshawe. It looks like you did some play-by-play for them. So maybe you could expand on a little bit of that. And then it looks like you started with the London Majors in 2016. So could you kind of blend, from your experience in college to working there and then now onto the IBL?
Yeah, well, actually, my first year with the majors wasn't until last year, actually. It was the first full year I worked with them. Went to Fanshawe College, started there in 2015, I believe. Took radio broadcasting, so broadcasting's always been, what I wanted to do. Worked for Rogers TV. I've been volunteering there with their baseball and hockey programming for 4 years now or so. And, slowly been working my way up. And when London was looking to do a little bit of a live stream last year, I was able to get involved and kind of took that a little bit further. And we were really excited to go this year. We got a whole bunch of new equipment, multiple camera angles, stuff like that. But unfortunately, no baseball.
Nice.
Yeah, I hear that.
And was that headset a part of the sweet new deal too? Because that looks advanced.
I'm going to say this one actually is part of the Strathroy Rockets equipment.
Oh, nice.
And to go back a little bit to what you were saying earlier, the amount of times that I mess up saying the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League, at least 6 or 7 times during the season. And that's live. It's a mouthful. It's a mouthful.
I think he's right to say just go with Gojal.
Yeah, Gojal. Gojal's a thing.
Short it up. Nice and tight.
I'm telling you. So on that note, obviously you guys were excited for this season, and we can kind of get into if that'll exist with obviously everything that's going on right now. But I thought I noticed something here. Your co-defendant there, gentleman by the name of Dylan Baker. I was just reading an article that he came on board with you guys last year. Now, is this age accurate? Is he 13 or 14 years old?
You're testing me here. He's probably gonna rip me for this. I think he's 15 right now, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, he's very talented for his age. We're lucky to have him. He came on shortly after I did, and really lucky to have Dylan. He's gonna go far.
Right.
Now with
yeah,
him, that's a pretty, like, for you, having gone to like college and everything for it and prepared yourself in that manner. When they first approached you, being like, "Hey, we got this 13-year-old kid who sounds like a young Peter Mansbridge," what was your first thought?
That's so we the media manager for the majors, Matt Hiscox, he got an email and he said to me, "Hey, we got someone who's interested in helping you. He's 14," and I was like, "Oh my God, 14." I was like, okay. So then I listened to Dylan has a great baseball podcast that he puts on. I took a listen to that, and you can just tell in his voice that he's a little bit further along than some 14, 15-year-olds are, and not just in terms of his voice, but in terms of his baseball knowledge. For me, going to broadcasting school, I have a little bit more of the technical knowledge, in terms of setup, all the technical equipment. But Dylan, he's quick to learn, and he's doing a fantastic job so far. He actually was working in the same league as me for hockey as well, doing home games in Kamoka.
Wow. Well, shout out Dylan. He's obviously not going to be hitting that patio with you for another 4 years, but way to go, buddy. So I guess I touch on that, right? You guys obviously are doing a podcast as well, with Quarantine Corner and your IBL report. I just wanted to ask you one thing. Who the hell's your graphics guy? Because that intro is on fire, and the Bushman is a pixelated cartoon. That is some impressive work. Is that you?
Yeah, I got some free time. Yeah. Throw whatever you can together. I don't even think it's that great, to be completely honest with you, but
the song is awesome.
Free music on the internet. It's amazing what you can find.
That's awesome. So obviously you've like you said, only been with London for a short time, but that's a pretty storied franchise and an even more storied ballpark. Labatt Park's been around since 1877. I noticed here that they were the Tecumsehs at one point, and Ty Cobb with the Detroit Tigers even played them there. So, constructed in 1877, 5,200 seats. And to give perspective for people, that's easily the biggest ballpark in the IBL and obviously easily the oldest one. So what's it like calling games in that cathedral, even knowing like the seat that you're in? Some legends of the game have probably been there before.
It's I try to be as unbiased as I can. It's by far the best ballpark in the IBL. I think it's a little bit out of the IBL's league, to be honest. 5,200 seats, and it's tough because the majors, they could pull in 1,000 to 1,500 fans on an average night, and the place still looks empty. But you put 1,500 fans in any other ballpark in the IBL, and it's almost a sellout crowd. It's a fantastic atmosphere. There's usually 2 games every single season. You can count on there being 4,500 to 5,000 fans in the seats Father's Day and Canada Day.
Wow.
And I highly suggest if you get a chance to come out to one of those games, come on down. It's
Don't even get started on
killing
that.
us.
We had so many plans. We were looking at Airbnbs.
For
we
this
already
year.
made the plan to come out for the whole weekend, do the whole experience, and then the entire world shut down.
But there will be a tomorrow, and you can bet your ass the Bushman
I'm looking forward to it. Let me know. I can hook you guys up with some tickets, hopefully, and get you guys in the seats. I know we had on our last episode of Quarantine Corner with Byron there. He wants to see you guys out down the right field line.
We'll get to that. I wrote
coming.
down that. We see you, Byron. We'll get to that. But so I thought just kind of quickly touch on it, and you've already kind of shed some light on it. But obviously, you said you get 12 to 1,500 a game, and then obviously that Epic Canada Day series, it's always around 4,000 or 5,000. So what's the crowd like at Labatt? Like obviously, we got second most passionate fan base in the IBL Players Report, with London getting first. And I also hear that from multiple players that there's a Bushman-esque crew of hecklers down the first baseline, not the third baseline. So have you seen that action? And maybe if you want to give a nod to the support in London, feel free.
Yeah, London's got a very unique group of fans. They have those hardcore fans that are, back year after year and cheering on their hometown team. And it's a little bit tough. I'll go back to the calling games at Labatt Park. Our view up top at the press box is a little bit further away than usual. to see those fans down the right field line, especially with the windows closed some days. So it's tough to hear them. But there's some groups up there, and we've had some groups sit up right in front of us in the press box that, seventh inning comes along. You can tell they've had a couple too many wobbly pops.
Well, that's like, as much as we love the left field, I mean, if we did the trip out to London, we're parking right underneath you.
Yeah.
So you can hear it right smack and hear everything we're saying.
Yeah, you might need some post-production to kind of like tone us out, but that'd be great. I want to touch on this. You and Dylan came out at the beginning of this season with, I believe it was your all-decade team?
Yeah, that was a tough one. Took some heat for that.
Yeah, so there's a couple players that we want to touch on that, we're big fans of in the Bush. First off, you put for the catcher, the guy who's kind of the whipping boy of the entire IBL, our boy Ambrose, which we love. Shout out Mike Ambrose. He's been a supporter. What's it been like watching him? And he's quite the character. It seems like you guys have him on quite a bit.
Yeah, Amby's a good guy. I actually played a year of college ball with him at Fanshawe, and he's a completely different player from when I played with him. At least the way he carries himself on the majors. He's a great guy, great community guy. Just loves playing on that team, and on top of that, he's got a really good bat and great defensive catcher, and I think that's what put him on the list for us.
Sure.
I mean, I would say from my view watching Brosy play, I don't agree with his defensive capabilities. I'm in his ear. I've seen those fumbles. He knows we're out there watching.
And he's got a noodle arm. He's got a noodle arm.
No. I'll stick up for Brosy here on that one.
What's his pop time? No, we love you, Brosy. We're just
yeah, we love Brosy.
So another guy, which again, I had the shame of not seeing this game, but he came to Toronto and he put like 3 home runs that must have been easily over 400 feet. And it's our boy, the big man, Cleveland Brownlee, who you also had in your all-decade team. I think that was obviously a guaranteed one. Guys had over 100 home runs, over 400 RBIs with a 302 career average. So what have you liked about Brownlee? And also, too, what's the biggest home run you've seen that man crush?
I could go on and on about Cleve. Cleve, first of all, is a class act guy. He's a fantastic guy. He's a no doubter, first of all, for that all-decade team, and
For sure.
of course, I'm a bit younger. I didn't get to see the majors back in the 1900s, but I would put Cleveland probably in the top 5 all-time majors if you're looking just at stats. I mean, over 100 home runs. He's been with the team for 10 years. It's a pretty impressive stat line.
No doubt.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, there's even, I think it was Garrett had discovered this kind of article. Who was it again, Garrett? The dad.
Cecil Fielder.
Cecil Fielder said that Cleveland Brownlee was probably the best pure power hitter he's ever seen, which is a wild compliment. And to have that in the IBL is just outstanding.
Yeah, he is.
Not for us, but
he is. He's a phenomenal power bat, and I think. And myself talking to Cleve in interviews over the years, he is, and he's changed as a player from when he came into London in 2010. He'll be the first one to tell you he was a little bit thinner back then, had a little bit more speed. But for a guy, who's getting up there a little bit in his IBL career, he can still, I think he had double-digit home runs last year as well. So he can still swing the bat well.
Right, for sure. And there's obviously been some very impressive alumni that have come out of this franchise. Obviously, they've been around for quite some time, almost 100 years. One of them being Canadian Baseball Hall of Famer Fergie Jenkins, coming out of Chatham, Ontario. So I want to know, have you ever met him? Does he ever come by London games? Like, he threw out the first pitch at the Leafs game last year to open the season. So I don't know where his allegiances lie, but
no, actually, I've never met Fergie myself. I know he. I wouldn't say there's a bad relationship between him and the majors. I just think he's got a whole lot going on right now with his foundation and everything. And, of course, just, living retirement lifestyle. Try to keep your distance from the game, I think, as much as you can. I think a lot of guys in retirement try to as much as they can. But, Fergie's a great guy. And if you're looking at all-time alumnus of the London majors, he's probably the top profile alumni.
For sure.
Wow.
For sure. So going back to kind of what you touched on, and, you're quick, obviously, to pump the tires of your own great stadium there at Labatt. And right now, the IBL is having a contest, or like a voting contest, to see what the best parks were in the IBL. And Labatt came in at the number 1 seed. The Pits way down in the back of the bus at number 8. So I want to ask you, do you guys go on the road to do games too? And have you ever been to the Pits?
So we did go on the road last year. Christie Pitts wasn't one of the places we went. Of course, you guys have a good YouTube broadcast of your own in Toronto, and with it being a little bit of a smaller press box up there on the hill, not enough room for us, which was fine, as long as the fans have some way they can watch the game. That being said, I have been to the Pits. I actually played there when I was in college. I think George Brown played their home games at Christie Pitts. So
We went to watch their game.
yeah. So we had a Wednesday night doubleheader at Christie Pitts, and getting out of there with the bus. Oh my goodness, it was hectic on a Wednesday night.
Due to the people in the park or just the traffic?
Just everything. I mean, like you said, I'm a Middlesex County guy, so when I go into Toronto and I have to, watch a bus try to get through traffic, I'm sitting there freaking out a little bit. But
I
no,
mean,
it was
now
all
you
right.
see how it's possible that the Pits has the highest capacity of any team in the league. I mean, technically 10,000 people could be in
For sure. There
We're
wasn't that many
working
people
on
at the
it.
George Brown game, I can tell you that. But it's I love the Pits, actually. I think the atmosphere there, and I think knowing the history of that ballpark when you're playing there, it's really something else.
Right. And so one of the other players that you put on the all-decade team that did come up before and did come up on Quarantine Corner is your right fielder, Byron Reichstein. So obviously a 324 career average, over 1,000 at-bats with your squad. So, we kind of dumbed down the Bushmen and are heckling. So I just wanted to know, does anyone on London, or is anyone affected? Because we've seen some meltdowns, but maybe that was something else.
Yeah. Byron, he likes to have fun there, and I know that he was he was really happy to hear from you guys on the interview. That's for sure. And I think he's going to be really excited to have you guys down whenever you do get to come down. He's another guy that I thought was a fantastic addition to our all-decade list, and I mentioned off the top we did get a little bit of heat for that for some guys we left off, but I think Byron was a good choice. He swung the bat well, and I forget his career average off the top of my head, or if you mentioned it there, Garrett. But yeah, fantastic career average over his time with the majors, and I believe he's the second longest tenured majors player right now. So,
wow.
Yeah, and that's pretty good too, because not only is he a long tenured player, it seems like he's really taken it upon himself to connect with the community. He mentioned that teddy bear plan that you guys might do if and when the IBL season starts, and then donate those to a Sick Kids Hospital, which is fantastic. So that's great that you have a guy like that on your team.
Yeah, he's a great community guy, and we have a couple, we talked about Ambrose earlier, a couple of those guys that are local guys, grew up in London and, played local ball and have really connected well with the community. And I think what Byron's doing and his idea there is fantastic. And like you said, if we do get to have IBL ball this summer, I think it'll be a fantastic thing to see.
100%.
Are there going to be any Bushman stuffed animals?
I'll try to find it as close as I can to some Bushman stuffed dolls.
That's awesome. Well,
Ray, you can definitely stitch up some Bushmen.
I'll have to get to the sewing machines right now and do something up.
I need one with that shirt you got on there, Ray. That's what I need.
You got it.
honestly. Well, kind of on that front, again, obviously everything's really up in the air. But with, Ontario kind of slowly starting to open up, like you guys are a bit ahead of us. I know provincial parks had started to open up. You're obviously not having a direct line to Trudeau. Wrong Trudeau, Jesus. But have you kind of heard any rumblings if there's a potential for the season? Because I know Welland had put together a sort of a safety plan for their park. I believe London also maybe was doing the same. So I don't know if you could shed light on what the facility is doing, and I don't know if you've heard anything. And
yeah, we unfortunately I don't have access to much more information than anybody else does. But as of right now, I believe the plan is still to try and salvage some sort of season if they can with the 5 remaining teams. I know earlier on they talked about Canada Day. Of course, that's a week away now, so obviously that's probably not going to happen. Last rumblings I kind of heard were, a season as short as 10 games, something like that. But at this point, I think it's fair to say that, we're getting to the point where they might have to think about pulling the plug. The IBL is a league where I really think they have to rely on some fans through the gates for a lot of these teams. So if that can't happen, we might not get to see baseball this summer.
Yeah.
Right. So traditionally, though, the IBL regular season, I believe it ends probably first to second week of August, and then it leads into the playoffs, which usually, I think, when do they wrap? Early September?
Yeah, depending on the length of the series, usually. I think this year it wrapped up probably first week of September.
First week of September, right? So I know, some of the maybe decisions on that part have to do with some of the NCAA talent having to going back to school. Again, we're just brainstorming here, but do you think not hypothetically they could push the season just out a bit longer into September, October? And, you do lose those players for the playoffs kind of anyways, and the weather stays okay. And geez, in the majors, it's October baseball. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think September and October baseball, first of all, is fantastic. It's probably some of the best weather we get all season long here in Ontario. It's not too hot, not too cold. Usually, I mean, there's sometimes in October we'll get snow.
Yeah, but that same is true of May.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's something that the IBL should look at for sure. I'd have to double check, but I think both the OCAA and the OUA have canceled their fall seasons right now. So, I mean, all those players are freed up now. They don't have a season to go to. A lot of guys that were planning on going NCAA or junior college over in the States might be staying home now or might not be able to cross. So I think that definitely opens that up for the IBL and maybe opens up some players that they didn't have before.
Right. And you said obviously you played some college ball at Fanshawe, and you played with I think a few players who were in the IBL. You've only been around this team for a short period right now, but what have you seen in terms of the quality ball and like where it is going forward? Because a theme that we seem to be getting from a lot of people when we ask that question is the import players in terms of the pitching has really made this a very competitive league and a great option for local Canadian kids to come back, even if they're in NCAA, for a summer program, be close to home, and face much tougher competition. So I don't know, maybe you could touch on that and kind of what you see.
Yeah, from talking to guys, just like you mentioned, from talking to guys around the league, they get a lot better idea of it than we do from, watching from the sidelines in terms of the talent. But they're saying that the talent is getting better and better every year. The pitching is one thing, like you touched on there, with the import guys coming in. And even some of the local guys on these teams, the pitching is fantastic. I mean, you're not going to have a whole lot of guys that aren't throwing a bare minimum, 85, 86 in this league. And you're going to have 2 or 3 of your starters who are touching 90s every day. The talent is fantastic and certainly a lot better than what I faced and what I played in the OCAA. But that being said, I think both those college and university leagues here in Canada as well they're only getting better every single year. And we're starting to see a lot of guys that maybe would have gone to the States before stay home and play ball.
100%. One on our team specifically, Mateos Kakatos, for sure. Shout out Matty Ice. So guys, did you guys have any more questions for the voice of probably will be the entire world by the time we're out of COVID? This guy just keeps expanding his network. Guys?
Elliot, do you have anything?
Yeah, I was gonna say just kind of like to Garrett's point about Mateos Kakatos. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I think is really crazy for this league, that you are getting it probably, I don't know how much interest, but I'd say significant enough interest in a player who developed in a Canadian college and now is refining his craft in the IBL. Maybe opens up an opportunity for guys from Dominican, the US or whatever to say, hey, I can get recognized if I come here.
For sure. Yeah, I think totally agree with you there. I think the door is wide open. I think people are starting to realize, what this league has to offer. And kind of on our side of things, you guys as well, and all of us that do media for all these teams around the IBL, we're just trying to shed light on what's going on here in this league and some of the true talent that is going on in these ballparks during the summer.
Yeah,
I'm really happy you said we were media. Thank you.
What do you see for like the future of the London majors? And do you notice like the crowds getting more interested or the community getting more interested? And same for the rest of the league, the few games that you've traveled. Do you see the potential like we do for this league? Because we are just completely devoted, and all being young people, there's such a great potential for a great thing that Southern Ontario offers, and, great for these communities, and great, affordable games that you can go to and watch great baseball.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think, if you've heard rumblings over the years that the IBL is going downhill or anything like that, I think that's completely false. I mean, just look at what Welland did last year in their first season there. Full props to Ryan Harrison and that
100%.
crew over in Welland, a beautiful stadium, a team that did well, really turned things around from their time in Burlington. Look at the places I traveled last year to call games for the majors. Coates Stadium in Barrie is a fantastic crowd there. Pretty close to a sellout there in Barrie. Kitchener, always great crowds. Brantford, Brantford, they had a little bit of a tough year, but they still got their devoted fans out there, and Guelph, everywhere else around the league, I think is doing fantastic for the majors. I still think they see a lot of fans out every year, and I think, like you said, you touched on it perfectly. It's good, relatively cheap entertainment for a lot of people, and I think that's what the IBL really needs to market, is that, hey, you can come out to the ball game and you can bring you and your kids and your wife, and you can spend $50 and you can get everyone in and have some snacks as well.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, the other side of it too is in terms of, like, if you're targeting, let's say, younger people without kids, disposable income. You can't beat going to an IBL game. Your team could be down 13-6 in the fourth inning, and next thing you know, you win 19-15. Like, come on!
Yeah. You never know what's going to happen. Don't leave early at an IBL game. I'll say that.
Oh no! We've learned that from the get-go. We're like, geez, down like 8-4 with like an out left, and it's like we end up winning 10-9.
Yeah, nothing like a quick 7 in the bottom of the 7.
Oh yeah, quick 7. That's what we say.
Really turn things around for you. That's right.
Yeah. Lots of crooked numbers up and down the scorecard.
I mean, on my end, I was gonna say, like, we've been watching your quarantine corner very closely. If Reichstein's challenge was just to yell at him louder, we're happy to do that. That's not something he needs to broadcast out there. But you guys have been great, and it's great to see that more things are popping up where the league's, potentially reaching new audiences by people just, even scrolling through baseball stuff on YouTube, and then bang, one of these pops up, and they learn a lot about a great league that we all are huge fans of.
Exactly, and I think that's what it's going to take. And a lot of the teams have moved to either live streaming their games or getting more on social media. And I think that's where you're going to hit those young demographics, and you're really going to bring in those young people. And I think we're starting to see that as well. We're getting some young people interested, and it's been great for us so far. And the quarantine corner, I mean, Rogers was great to pick up what we've been doing and start airing that on TV locally. So hopefully looking to keep building a relationship with them as well.
100%.
Well, we were going to send Ray over to talk to Rogers about getting the Bushbanter a quick look on Rogers cable.
Yeah,
I think I can seal the deal with this quarantine hairdo that I have.
Yeah, buddy. Just give it a flick. We'll
I forgot. No haircuts for you guys yet, is there?
No, not yet.
I can't
As
grow
you can
enough.
see.
So don't worry. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you want to see some baldness? Boom. Well, yeah. So I guess thanks for coming out, Noah. This has been awesome. I guess one last note: when you were on your patio there having a few pints, be honest, how many times were you stopped and you had to kind of interrupt the conversation you're having with people to write an autograph? Like, how many times have you been stopped?
Never in my life. And I, to be honest with you, I hope it never happens. My autograph is atrocious. I write like a toddler.
I'm getting one when we come to London.
We expect one. Yeah, we're going to be right there lined up. Well, that's awesome. Well, again, from the bush, like we said, thanks for coming out, Noah. We fully agree with you. This league, sky's the limit for it. And, it's been so damn frustrating. We haven't been able to make it out to Labatt Park, but you better believe the Bushmen are going to be there at some point in the future. And we'll get some autographs from you and then probably heckle the entire team. So it'll be a great time.
Well, thanks a lot for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. I love what you guys are doing over there. And I look forward to it every week.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Appreciate the support.
Thanks, guys.
Bush out.
Cheers, Noah.
Later, Noah.